Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Debbie and I'm a mixed media artist, and today I want to look at how I use purple in mixed media landscape art, because it's one of those colours. Quite often you think, do I need purple? I don't like purple unless it's wrapped around a bar of chocolate. Reference for people where Cadbury's are sold. But before we get on to that, let's do some housekeeping. Please leave a like and consider subscribing, and a comment if you have time. I do try to get back to all the comments. And if you like what I'm doing here and like my work, which you'll see some of in a minute, and my teaching style, do consider joining my Patreon, which is an art school. I run it as an art school, so 3 tutorials a week and a lovely community to mix with. So it's a nice space to hang out actually, and I would love to have you over there as well. Right, so purple. I didn't like purple for ages, and what I don't like in particular is a sort of a cheap purple. I can't even show, actually, this here, my apologies to Tim Holtz Distress products, which I have all of them, including this one, obviously, but this is not my favourite purple. This is the purple that I tend to avoid. I find it a bit harsh. I bought this because I have full set syndrome, and actually it came in a kit. It came in a little set. However, you can mix all of these, and that's what I'm going to do with it, and have been doing with it all the time I've been making cards. So this is the purple that I don't like as much. This lot here in this little basket is what I want to swatch in a second for you, because these are some of my favourites, and you will see the difference just looking at it there between the lovely muted colours and this one that's a little bit brighter. So I'll pop that aside, because first I want to show you a couple of examples of purples in my sketchbooks. Now, like I said, quite a lot of people will say, oh, I don't really like it, so I'm not going to get it. You don't need it. Actually, if you look at a landscape and the area around you, there is purple just about everywhere. There's purple in just about every landscape, and it's really handy to have a couple of purple things in your kit. And like I said, I'm a mixed media artist, as you just saw from my little basket there. There's all sorts in there. I've also got, off slightly out of screen here, I've got some gouache and watercolour and all of that. We're going to swatch it in a second. But first of all, purple has to be used with caution, to be fair. Too much, and it just doesn't work so well. Now, please excuse me for saying such strong opinions. These are my opinions. Everybody is entitled to their own. If you want to use purple everywhere, I've actually seen somebody who I taught in Australia who had painted the walls and ceiling of a bedroom purple. And there were other purple things in the room. To me, that was just a little bit too much. I use purple as an accent colour, and as an accent colour it really, really pops. And at the end of the video, so do please stay for that, I've got a comparison. I've painted 2 little scenes exactly the same, but I've used more purple in one, and I've used the amount that I like to use in the other one. And like I said, it's all very personal. Art is personal. We're only here to guide. We as teachers, don't let anyone tell you what you should like and what you shouldn't. If you like a lot of purple, then please use a lot of purple. It's a nice colour, and there's such a lot of different colours in the purple spectrum. It goes all the way from almost pink on one end and red, and almost red on the other. And I've got some surprises in my bag here in the basket. I just looked at my nails. I do apologise for the state of my hands. I just had a knockdown, drag out fight with a bottle of ink, and it appears that the ink won. It's an acrylic ink, so it'll probably wear out over the next decade or so, but I can't get it out of my nails. So that's what this is. It's antelope brown. It's my favourite colour. Acrylic ink is famous for getting crusty around the thread, and the lid just will not go on or off. It spills everywhere, it dribbles. Every now and again, you've got to get in there and attack it and get all the hard bits off so that you can shut the bottle. That's where the fight started. Right, this is this is one I've done quite recently this year. And again, using purple as an accent. So I really particularly like the idea of having a little touch of it somewhere else in the picture. And as my Patreons will know, they're probably very bored with me saying this, I never use these colours just once in a picture. I'll always try to put them somewhere else as well. And unless it's absolutely meant to be an accent. So, for example, if you're painting a picture of London in greys and, you know, sort of wintry tones, and then you've got a picture of a red post box or a red telephone box, that's an accent. You don't need to have red elsewhere, although you absolutely can. And I would probably still find a place to put it, like somebody's dress might be red, or there might be something red in a window, just something to tie it together. So here I've used my favourite sort of reddish purples to paint some clover, and I've smudged it onto the cliffs back here as well. But it's not too much, and without this, you might read that as a different colour altogether, the bit on the cliff. Sorry, I don't have a third hand to point it out now. That was the one of the sort of drawbacks to not being born an octopus. But yeah, this here looks different without this. And these are my favourite purple tones, and there's a lot of Caput Mortuum in there. Honestly, if you write the name Caput Mortuum on anything, I'll buy it. Just so you know, in case you need money. Right, that's been trying to do that all day. Yeah, so if you need to get rich or anything like that, just let me know. Do that. I don't think there's much else there. Here's another one. Just accents of purple, and then I've smudged again some Caput Mortuum. We are going to swatch this. This is one of the 50th anniversary Neocolor 2s from Caran d'Ache, and I love it. And I'm frightened to use it because if it runs down and they don't have it in open stock, I don't know what I'll do. Yeah, so I've used it on the leaves to do this special technique, which my Patreons will be, this is a bit of a spoiler alert, my Patreons will be seeing this over the next few weeks in sort of steps. This one too, to be fair, so I'm really not doing well here today. But I've got purple in the watercolours, different ones. I've got some purple on the leaves, and I've got some purple down here, and a little bit of not purple, and I'm not going to tell you what it is until we swatch, if I remember. Give us a shout in the comments if I forget. Just touches of purple work really, really well as an accent, I find. So that's that one. Let's see what's in the next one. This one is, sorry, I'm not sure where I'm up to here. Yeah, here again, just as an accent, tiny bits, just bits and pieces. And it makes the whole picture come alive. I mean, I believe that purple and green were the suffragette colours, and they made their clothing and different tokens and whatever they needed out of these colours. And they really knew what they were doing as far as colour pairing is concerned, because green and purple are a marriage made in heaven. Absolutely beautiful. There's another one. There must be something in here since I put tags in. Here again, this here is an ink. And it's a one of my favourites, actually. It's almost a neutral tint if it was a watercolour. But it's just so nice to have it in the background. It's actually a cloud grey, I believe. Gris de Nuage. Let me see. Oh, God, I got it first time. That's amazing. If you saw this drawer full of inks, you would... That is actually some sort of miracle. It's a Jacques Herbin ink, and it's Grey Cloud is its name. And I will put that in for swatching later on. I should not have made that oversight. So here again, it shows the versatility of the range of purples. And if you're watching this on my Patreon, I will link the swatch and deep dive video I did on quite a while ago on purples, so you can see a little bit more of it there. But what I love is how very big the colour range is. You just think, well, purple, well, that's purple. That's just a purple. There are so many others. Let's have a further look in here. Here a little bit in the sky with some pan pastel, just a touch, and with the greens, it just changes the light in the picture, which I love using it with grey. Oh, this here again is, gosh, all right, no, we're all right. I've got other pegs in here. This is a neutral tint, Winsor & Newton neutral tint watercolor, and again, I love it. It's a winter tone. That's a winter color. Purple is effectively a warm color. There are a cool color. Sorry, very much wrong. It is a cool color, both figuratively and literally. There are warmer looking purples, but overall it's regarded as a cool color, and it suits really well in winter scenes. I tend to use warm colors in winter scenes anyway, but purple is really, really nice. And when you get back from some of these sort of details where there are no leaves much, or as in here, the leaves that are still clinging to the odd branch are dead because it's winter, you can sort of see purple in the trees, and you can see some purple on the ground and in the soil and all sorts of things like that. Wait a minute. Sorry, yes. I think that's it there. This is a collage and just a regular bird, but I had just bought the dark set of Neo colours. Let me see if I got the same luck as, oh my God, I've done it twice. I might go and get a lotto ticket, actually. I don't really believe in lotteries, but I can't win. Other people might be able to. I certainly can't. But I've grabbed the thing first time, both times. The one that's missing is the one we're going to swatch. I like this one as well, but I figured you've got things to do, so we don't want to be here all day. This is the dark set of the Caran d'Ache 50th anniversary special edition ones, and the Caput Mortuum one that's missing is my absolute favourite, and you can see it in action here. I've actually dissolved it with water here, but further on, and you'll see when we swatch it, I don't always do that. Sometimes I rub it and burnish it with my finger, which is much better actually. Right, that's it for that one. There is so much more in these. Next one. This one, I've almost crossed the boundary in my opinion here, where I've gone with too much purple. But for nighttime scenes, sometimes you can get away with it. There again, purple is a nighttime colour. Okay, medical disclosure time. I'm sure you won't tell anybody, but I can see in the dark like a cat. It's a birth defect, but it's a good one. I've got more rods than cones than normal people have, so I can see in the dark extremely well, but I don't see colour because the cones are the same as everybody else. So what I see is everything like night vision goggles, but in blues and greys and sometimes purples. More purple here in Germany than when I lived in Australia as a child, actually. But so there is purple in the night, which it's just really creepy. I do apologise, but this is what I see, and it's almost too much, but it's there. And with the dark grey and the dark blue, as long as it's not too much, you can kind of get away with it. And this, of course, being nighttime, that's a bit different anyway. I wouldn't use that much in the daytime. Where am I up to here? Wait a minute. That back to Winsor & Newton neutral tint. It's just such a really nice colour. Yes, it is supposed to be used, or well, it can be used to tone down other colours. Like if you've got colours that are too bright and gaudy, you can use neutral tint to tone them down. In fact, I've got some here as well. But I like it because I like it as a colour. And here again, if I can grab my hapless example of one I don't like, feeling really guilty now. Like I said, I love these products. It's just so much nicer. To my eyes, it is more restful than this one. And, oh, again here. And I've used it again in bits and pieces here, just burnishing it in, but it's a really useful one. Here, okay, I live in an area of Germany where there is a lot of heather, and we've got fields and fields of it. Moorland, just like in Britain and in Scotland. You know, Scotland is in Britain, of course, but other places that have heather, we have miles and miles of it. And it really does look like this. This is an oil pastel one in a couple of different colors. But again, it's all, we've got the blue sky, we've got plenty of green, and we've got the sheep in the middle. I don't think I would paint a picture of just fields of heather without anything else in them. And I don't think I ever have either, because again, purple overused, in my opinion, it can take over a little bit. It's a nice accent color, and that's sort of where it should be left. But I'm quite happy to enter into debate. What have I got here? Oh, yeah, a little bit more of the Neo Color 2 from this set, this 50th anniversary set that I bought. And this is the Caput Mortem again, rubbed out with my finger and also dissolved in water with the zinc oxide that's also in this kit, plus plenty of green, bit of turquoise, blue, and all these others. It's a really, really nice way to accent a picture. Right, let me see if I can open this last one without knocking the camera completely off. Right, we've got that far. Where are we here? It's a big A4 one, and it's got no room under the camera to move. And here we are. I knew I had a tag in here somewhere. This one I did a couple of weeks ago because I love owls, I love woodlands, love all sorts of things like that. An owl and a mouse. No idea who won that one. I'm hoping it's the owl, because I prefer owls to mice. Point is, there's bits of purple, and it really makes the deep darks deep and dark without being dead. If you look in here, and I'm not sure if it comes out on camera as well as it does in real life, but if you look into the depths, there's still something to see. You can see vague shapes in there, and that's because it's got some life in it. Purple has life. So it's really useful to layer with green. It's useful to layer with black. It's useful to layer with dark grey, dark blue, all of these sorts of things, so that you get a lovely lot of dramatic contrast in your work. You get deep dark bits, and then you get these light bits up here, and that sort of thing. I think I've even used it here on the tree trunk, although I don't know. That is that mystery one that we'll come to when we swatch. And finally, this one. Oh my goodness, it almost fits on the camera. Well, this bit's blank anyway, so let's say it fits. And I don't need to use that anymore, because this is just as horrid. This purple's still not great, but this one's brighter, so maybe we'll use both of them. What I've tried to do here with Pan Pastel is to achieve huge amounts of distance. And again, to bring the purple in elsewhere, not just use it once and then not again. If you do that, you can do that. Like I said in the beginning, you can absolutely do that. But it looks better to bring it in elsewhere in the picture. It ties it all together. And even though I'm not one for a limited palette, I tend to like to see what's there and paint what's actually there in the colour I see it in. So reusing a colour in several places cuts down the amount of different colours, because if the painting is too small, like if it's a very small sort of miniature one, using too many colours can be overwhelming, and that's a conversation for a different day. So Pan Pastels for distance, but then a little bit of Caput Mortuum in here, same as the owl, deep darks, a little bit on the bramble blossoms. This is another thing that my Patreons and I will be doing in the next weeks or so, because we're coming up to this time of the year. We're late summer. I painted this in July. It's July now. It's, 23rd. I've got a little bit on the huts and the cottages as well. Again, this is that other tool, which we'll come to in a minute. We'll come to it right now, actually, because that's that. So the point is, it is a wonderful thing to use. It is used, it's everywhere, especially when you've got wildflowers blooming and things like that. You've got a lot of purple all over the place. And when you get your eye in and look at it, it's amazing. And you will wonder how you ever did without purple if you haven't sort of succumbed yet. Right, let's do some swatching, shall we? I don't think there's anything in this one with... Oh yeah, there's the same sorts of things. I've used it on these brambles as well and things like that. I think that I use it a lot. For someone who said once they didn't like it and wouldn't use it, I use it a lot. Right, let's do some swatching. Just making sure that I'm on camera. I've got some water and I can find a brush, all of these things being present and correct. Let's see what's in this little package up here. There's all sorts. Like I said, mixed media. I love it. I started out like anybody else, being just a watercolor artist or just an oil painter. I did both of those things. And then during lockdown, I started mixing things up. And I mean, by way of context, I went to school in Australia where I was brought up in the 70s and 80s. So primary school and high school. And you would never admit to anything as weird and out there as being a mixed media artist. It would have been considered odd, probably treatable, that much odd. So you just didn't. You're either a sculptor, you were a potter, or you were you're an oil painter, a watercolor artist, you did pencil drawings, you did photography, but you certainly would never dream of mixing them together. So I'm so pleased that we're now in an age where we can, because it's nice. Right, I wondered where that brush went. Let's grab the first cab off the rank here. This is a Tombow. It's 679. I can't remember what color that is, but it's a nice grey purple. I do a lot of smudging. It's why my fingers are always in an unladylike state. That's the one that it's really nice. I'm going to put our hapless one here just to have it as sort of reference. This one is a Faber-Castell Goldfarber Aqua Dual Marker in light violet, which is a surprising sort of, can I say, lolly mauve. If you've had sweets or anything like that, it'll come in this colour. This here, if I had to choose, I would always choose the moodier colour. But this one is really nice as an accent, and it's nice where there are light parts of a picture. Right, coloured pencils next. Just going to grab them completely as they come. This was Derwent Lightfast Mars Violet. And again, it's that lovely grey purple, greyed, should I say. This one's a bit weird. Actually, it's not even mixed. Let's stick with the program, shall we? Mars Violet, Derwent Drawing. So same company, different pencil, very similar, but not quite the same. So, you know, I would have both of those, as I have here, actually, in my stable. There's a place for both. I tend to choose the Derwent Lightfast when I want something finer, because Derwent Drawing have a larger core. They have a larger barrel as well by a few millimetres, and a larger core of colour. So they don't do fine detail, and they're lovely, soft and creamy, which is one bonus, but they also wear down a little bit quicker. What's this one? This one is Blue Violet, Derwent Lightfast. This one's almost blue, but it's not. And it's a nice nighttime colour. I love that one for that. Then we have a Molotow acrylic marker. I like this because it's a berry colour. This one is in fact purple violet, and it's a double-ended one. So you've got a small, needs a little bit of love, I think. You've got a small nib on one end, and then you've got a much larger one on the other. These are refillable, and by the looks of this, that's exactly what will be happening soon. Again, moody violet. This one is the standout as being the closest to this one out of the lot. Let's just, for interest, as you can see, I've not used this one. Let's swatch this. It's actually much nicer in its real form. These are smudgeable with your finger. They're also water soluble. So a bit like Neocolours. Not quite as good, in my opinion, These I bought for my card making, and they are more of a craft tool, I think. But nonetheless, it is nicer than the cap. It's the cap I'm actually against, not the colour inside. Right, this one is Deep Rose. And again, you can see how much versatility there is within the purple range. All of these would be considered purple. On its own, this goes nicely with that, actually, which I hadn't seen before. That's why swatching's fun. Yeah, the two go together very nicely, whether you're up at the red end of the spectrum or down at the blue end of the spectrum, and everything in between. This one is Carmen Lake, and it's another one of these. It's almost... I almost didn't put that one in because it's more of a brown, but there's definitely violet in there, and it works well with the others. This one is my wild card, and it's Mars Black, which you might argue that, okay, this person needs to be watched a bit more closely because that's not purple. Except it is. If you burnish this with white, this is Derwent Drawing Chinese white, it shows its purple colours. And again, that's why it's one of my favourites. It's very similar to that, and once it's burnished, it's not black anymore. I use it for... It's one of my favourites along with Derwent Light Fast Forest. This one, it can be dark brown. It's kind of a black, but it's also a purple, and it's the deepest purple, and you don't see the purple until you burnish it with something lighter. And Chinese white is my favourite, so that's my secret one. This is sepia 50%. Again, not purple, except it is. And I use this as a purple. I also use this as a grey because it can be both of those things. So I guess the message here, in my very, very long-winded way, is to say don't pigeonhole your colours. Some of them are obviously and can't be anything else. That's mauve, and it's never going to be anything else. Can't see anything else. It's not ever going to be yellow. But some of these others, that one and that one could be dark blue. This could be grey. It could be purple. It could be sepia 50%. This one, there's lots of colours in there. They are so nuanced. And that is why we spend money on our art materials. We buy quality because we get more than we pay for in a lot of cases. This is Grey Violet. This one is Neo Art 6901, which is Karen Dash's new offering. And these are great. I love them. I wasn't sure when they come out because I wasn't sure where they fitted in to mixed media practice. The answer is absolutely everywhere. And like I said, this is Grey Violet. This one is Perylene Brown, which is a slightly weird one. If you're on my Patreon, you'll remember the bloodbath of the Perylene brown ink when I got that everywhere. And it, honestly, if you'd walked into the room at that time, you would have gone straight out and called the police because there was this blood red, arterial blood red stuff absolutely everywhere. It's on film. It's a nice colour. It's a reddish, this sort of thing, that up that end of the scale, it still counts. Then we have a Neo Colour 2. This is Purple Violet, which I really, really like. This too marries in nicely with that one there. And there's a place for all of these. Now, like I said, these are good. You can smudge them out with your finger, these the Neo Colour 2s, or as intended by the company, you can put some water on them. And as you can see, I was saying about this one not being quite the same quality, Neo Colour 2 will dissolve out completely, whereas some of these others do leave streaks. But you can work with that. They're no cheaper, mind you. They're just not, in my opinion, the same quality. You can still work with the streakiness by using it as to create textures. So it's not a case of sort of saying, right, well, they can all go in the bin then. It is a case of saying it is what it is and I'll use it in this way. So it still works well. That is a makeup applicator, which is going to go with those. So I suppose that means they're next. These are, as says on the tin, Pan Pastels. This one is Magenta Extra Dark. This one is Magenta Tint. Now, the colours for these are arranged very logically in sets of 4, going from tints at the very lightest end of the colour to extra dark or shades at the other end, and then there would be 2 in between, which I haven't got. But I like this one. It's lovely and light, and it's almost a little bit sweetie-like, but it's not too bad. It's muted enough. Let's turn that over, and this, of course, makes up for absolutely everything because it's beautiful. Same colour family. You can mix them together. I tend not to because, I mean, like I said at the beginning of the video, full set syndrome, I want all the colours all the time. So they're beautiful, and so both in the magenta spectrum. So if you go online and have a look, if you've not looked at Pan Pastels before, you can see what I mean. Every single one is. Oh, I'm going to get a tray and put these in because they are a bit of a trial when it comes to putting the lid on. Remember that I haven't used that one yet. More pencils. This one is Light Aubergine. And again, really nice muted colours. There are only 1 or 2 accents. This one and this one. These are the outliers that you wouldn't pick if you thought, right, based on what you've shown me, I'm going to pick things that I think you're going to like. You would not pick those 2. However, I do use them because in their place, they're the only thing that will do. This one's Holbein coloured pencil, and it's Raisin. And it's a really, really nice, it's becoming a favourite. Again, I wasn't sure about Holbeins when I first got them. They're kind of like the Faber-Castell Polychromos. That's what they're closest to, in my opinion. But I'm finding new ways to use them, and I'm liking them more and more. A little bit like the Neo Arts. Now I know what I'm doing with them. Cannot get enough. Holbein, again, Sea Fog. Very nice, muted mauve. It's everything that this one isn't. This makes my heart glad. In fact, all these here. That's where I am with my purples. But, like I said, when that's the only colour that will do, then that's the colour you need. For example, if you're painting pansies, some pansy colours, and I do love painting pansies, and they have some colours that are just really, really quite, they're too much. They don't look real. So, you know, and other flowers too, they have a distinctive colour that marks them out. You know what they are straight away by looking at the colour. You can change the colours, you can mute them down, but in some cases, it'll take something away from what you're doing. This one is Aubergine, and again, Neo Colour 2. Very similar to that one there, which was the Raisin pencil by Holbein. And again, we can smudge these with a finger or else wet them. Moistening them with water and dissolving them actually changes the consistency from a very waxy, slick sort of surface to something that you can actually layer more things over. So that's the advantage of water. This one, oh my goodness. I almost think it's worth paying another €23 for a second box of the 50-year anniversary ones just to get a second one of these. And I am so worried that they're not going to put it into open stock. I've said that before. Enough said, I'm afraid. Caput Mortuum, my favourite. It's dark. It's really, that speaks to my vampire soul. See in the dark thing. Kids are so original in school. Really, really lovely. And yeah, I'm happy to have it all over my fingers. I'm not. I never am. I'll wipe that off and then I will show you what it looks like with some water applied. It's still a beautiful, rich berry colour, but it does change the colour a bit. I actually prefer it in its pure form, just burnished with my finger. It's particularly nice like that. Right, we've got next. Actually, I didn't use that. I used the applicator instead. We've got 3 acrylic gouache colours, and I've got, again, here's a surprise. This is a Pastel Lavender by Turner acrylic. Now, this is not traditional gouache, so once it's dried and you're stuck with it. Whereas traditional gouache, you can re-wet it. And you'll see when you see my gouache palettes that they're quite cracked. This is another surprise because it's quite a sort of lolly colour, but in actual fact, if it's what's needed, it's needed. Beach huts, for example. Beach huts need that colour. This one is a Turner Japanesque, which means it's got a slight granule to it. You may be able to see that. This is another one of the red violets like that, but a bit more muted. As you can see, I actually dissolve these down quite a bit. I don't use them very thick the way they're probably intended. This one is another pastel, like the first one here. That's more of a periwinkle. Now it's drying. This one is pale lilac, and it's also from Turner, and it's also the wrong brush. It's also quite a sweet looking one, but nice for seaside cottages. I do a lot of my jelly prints with these because they're just perfect for what I tend to want to print. Let's have a look at this grey, shall we? This is Green Nuage. It is the grey cloud grey, and it's mauvey, and it really is very, very nice indeed. This one is my favourite because on the front it's written Caput Mortuum. I'm a predictable sort of person. No, I just love this. Mars Black is another one. Mars Black and Caput Mortuum. I have bought them in every medium I can get my hands on. So this one, bit of foam there. It's this lovely brownish purple. Very similar to the Crimson Lake and all these other sorts that are kicking around here. There's a family there of them, but brownish purple counts as purple. Let's have a look into the watercolours now. This one here, I think, oh yeah, there's one in here, and it's going to be surprising because it's quite close. It's my Galaxy Violet from Schminke, and it's quite close to the one I said I didn't like. Not really. It can be. Depends. Depends on the paper. It's going to run together with the acrylic gouache, that's fine. It's a granulating colour. In fact, it's a super granulating colour, not to be outdone, which means that it's got all of these other nice colours within, but it really does look like a galaxy of stars. You don't need much imagination to look at that and see the universe. Right, then another one. These are half empty, these boxes at the moment, because I'm in the throes of organising them properly. This one here has Daniel Smith Shadow Violet, and if you are a watercolour person, you will know about those colours. Again, a quite sort of grubby violet in the burnt umber. I think 50% it was. Never remember the names of things. Don't need to, just look at them. That's very, very much the same family. This one's Daniel Smith Moon Glow. Cost an absolute arm and a leg because they're not very cheap, these paints, but they go a long way. So those two. And I think what I like most about the palette that I have together here is that it's got highs and lows in the values. For example, some of them are light and bright, some of them are dark and moody, but somehow they work together beautifully. This one is a Holbein Eurasian J Rose Grey. I promise I'm not making this up. But to me it's a purple and it's a beauty. Love that one. And the other one that I love in here is a Mijello Milky Way Violet. Just trying to get the right one. Again, there are a couple of gaps where I've taken the greens out to put them into a palette. do hope I haven't got them mixed up. I think I have, but I don't. I haven't. This is the colour. It doesn't matter. Bit strange, actually. It is in there. Trust me. It's not meant to be green, so that's my blooper for the day. It is actually violet under there, and here it comes. I shall keep going until I reveal some violet for you. I love these. I love everything about them. I wasn't sure at the beginning of the year. It's a lot more purple than that usually. Like I said, we'll put this down as a blooper, but it is in there, and it's a Magello Mission one. It's really very nice indeed. It'd be nice if it was playing ball now. But this one, nice. Like I said, I didn't make the name up. This here is my gouache palette that I've just put together. I've been organising absolutely everything here. And first of all, another Perylene from Winsor & Newton. So one of these blood red ones. It's a lovely colour, that. And again, useful in its place. And I made, I'm not sure how much this is going to show up because this one's one I've made myself. Yeah, there's a bit of purple in there. I could not find a Mars Black gouache anywhere in Germany. Not for love or money. And I was prepared to barter with both. So I made one. And it is very, very similar to my Mars Black over here. I can find that again in its pure form. That hasn't been... Yeah. It's quite nicely similar, actually, if I hold that up a bit. Yeah. It's quite the same, and it's nice. And like I said, I don't... So if anybody knows of a Mars Black gouache, traditional gouache in my neck of the woods, I'd really like to know about it. But that is my palette of favourite purples. Let's put it on the camera. Plus one here that's still green. I'm really quite determined to make sure that that is the colour I say it is. I'm sure it is. I know it is. I can't even find it now. Might have to just let this one go. You know how it is sometimes. Yep, I can't find it here. I have almost certainly mixed it up. It is my fault, so not the colour. But it's a really nice green, so I'd buy it anyway. And it's certainly not as red as my face must be right now. Yeah, I get carried away when I'm putting them in and I forget where I've put things, and then I test something and then do something else, and then, you know, how it is. Doesn't matter. Let's focus on the others. They are really nice. They're all sorts of different ones. And as you can see, like I said, they go from very, very blue to very, very red. But they're still kind of in... You can put them into that spectrum and use them in the spectrum. And they are so, so versatile. So that's that lot. What I want to show you next is I'm going to have a quick clean up here. And I have prepared two sketches. They're the same sketch, but I've used slightly more purple in one than the other, just so that you can see what I mean about the amount of purple and sort of when to stop. And like I said, it is absolutely a personal opinion, which nobody has to listen to. However, I would be interested to know in the comments what you think, because actually I'm just wondering, are there any others? No, these are not purples. Because I feel personally, although I don't mind it, it's got a different mood. To me, that's gone too far, even though I've used my favourites. Too much of a good thing. What I've done with this side instead, with this one, I've used, for starters, with the sky, I've used the two pan pastels that I've got here. Just those, and then some watercolour, and then more watercolour, and of course covered it up with different pastels and what have you. With this one, I've done almost the same thing, except I've tempered the sky with some grey and pushed it back a little bit, so you can still see the purple. The purple is still there. And here again, I've gone with the same for the mountains, but I've glazed over it with a little bit of the dark green that I've used in the mid area here, in the middle distance. So, you know, it's just, gosh, there's a mark there that looks exactly like a steam train sort of steam. Let me show you. I hadn't noticed that before, but I think I'm going to leave it there. More greens, and then, yes, it's really difficult because where I live here in Germany, when you see the place in August, end of July and August, when all of the heather is blooming, it looks like this. But this is where something called artistic license comes in. You can't always paint what you see exactly the same way as you see it. Sometimes you have to make some adjustments to make your painting look believable. It's a difference. Sometimes you get away with it. There's all sorts of different things, and it changes from day to day. But sometimes you have to say, right, I know that there's all of this and there's tiny little blossoms on every single stem, but you don't paint every single one of them. And you don't do that when you're painting a tree. When you're painting a tree, you paint the shape of the tree. And if it's a bit nearer to you, you might paint a few more leaves. But I don't think anybody has ever achieved painting every single blade of grass, every single leaf, and not missing any out, and it's been counted and checked and everybody's agreed that they've all been painted. I don't think anybody's done that, because we just don't. And when you've got something that is a colour that is unusual, like purple, you can give almost an essence of being purple without having the whole lot purple. Because even though it's nice, there's nothing wrong with it, but you get the same idea by using less, and it's more toned down. Like I said, that's a personal opinion. Let me know what your personal opinion is, because it's all very, very interesting. And sometimes it might fall somewhere between the two. So, for example, further back, you might have more purple, and it's all sort of that colour. Because if you think about it, it's unfair. We don't have these constraints when we're using green. We don't even have those constraints when we're using browns and maybe even blue. You don't look at the sky when it's all blue and say there's too much blue in the sky, because you can get away with it with some colours and others you can't. I suspect, and I don't use a lot of pink, but I suspect pink is another one of those colours. Orange is another one of those colours. Orange is definitely one of those colours. I think with all the AI art around at the moment, you see, when Halloween comes, because we've sort of AI's galloped since last Halloween, if you look on places like Pixabay and Unsplash, who have royalty-free images, and you see some of the AI art on there that's all orange, it's too much, and less would be more, in my opinion. Like I said, have a look, let me know what you think. But I personally feel that this is the better of the two pictures, because it's just slightly less and slightly more toned down, and a little bit, like I said, the greens have greyed the purple out somewhat. But yeah, interested to know your thoughts. Right, thank you so much for staying with me for this one. And I'm definitely going to get to the bottom of that purple, and I'll let you know what comes out of it. I'll pop a little note onto my Patreon page about that, because I'm going to have a look. I'm sure I haven't mixed them up, but I may have done. Since it is very, very obviously green, I must have. Right. I'll see you again next time. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And like I said, if you've got some time to leave a message, I try to get back to all of them. And do consider joining my Patreon for more painting fun and general comedy. I mean, you can learn art anywhere, but you don't get these sorts of stuff-ups in any other place except here. So I will look forward to seeing you. But yeah, have a nice day. Have a nice weekend, because this comes out on a Friday. And I will see you all again next week. Bye for now. Bye. In the spirit of fair play, I will go in a minute, I do promise. I have found the Milky Way violet, and it just doesn't like being in there and dried. So from the tube, it is a beautiful colour. I know one should not do this, but as you can see, it's definitely a violet. being a super granulating colour as well, it's got green in it, so it's got a mixture of both of my favourites, and I love that. This, I can sort of see it trying, but it doesn't like being dried, so that's something I've learned. I'm new to this brand actually, and I really, really love them. The colours are just beautiful, and I would certainly recommend them. What I wouldn't recommend is putting that one in a thing and letting it dry and then expecting it to perform. Quite often the answer to that sort of thing is to put some water on them and let them wake up. Schminke is particularly a problem for that. Well, not a problem, but that's what Schminke super granulating watercolors require. They require a little bit of water and just leave them for a while to let them sort of get up and get going. And then the other thing with super granulating or granulating colors, any granulating watercolor, they need a couple of things in order to perform. They need room to move. They need the right paper. I'm working on smooth paper here because I'm a mixed media artist, and as you've seen from some of my pictures, I need to provide detail. That doesn't work with cold pressed watercolor paper that's got a lot of texture. So they need a lot of water, they need a lot of room to move, they prefer a rougher paper, and they don't mind being bullied, you know, moved around a little bit to make them do as they're told. So you can worry them a bit with the brush to make them behave. But I'm not satisfying the needs, so don't write in and say, oh, you know, you should have done this. I know, I realise that, but what I've got to do as a mixed media artist is I've got to decide whether I'm going to sacrifice detail and have the paper that the watercolour needs, or I'm going to sacrifice the little granulation and colour and allow myself to layer on top with other things like coloured pencils, dip pen and ink and things like that. And this is the one drawback of mixed media art that I can give, is that we're using products often in a way they weren't designed by the manufacturer to be used. These are the granulating watercolours. I would suspect that almost all of the manufacturers thought, oh, well, they'll just take these and they'll buy some nice rough watercolour paper and they're going to use them like a normal person. I don't. I use everything slightly differently. I mean, with Pastel, I use it on smooth paper, whereas a lot of people use Pastel Matte for it. That can change its performance, and we got to sort of take that one on the chin, because we know we're breaking some rules and things may not work as they are supposed to. So this is by no means the fault of the watercolor. It's on me, but I do know that. So yeah, like I said, don't worry about telling, you know, you always get a couple of people who say, oh, you should have done this. Yeah, I know. But sacrifices, you have to choose your sacrifice and pick which hill you want to die on. I decided I want to be able to add in a lot of detail to my work. So this lovely smooth paper it is. And just out of curiosity, all of the sketchbooks I've shown you today have been on nostalgia, Hahnemühle nostalgia paper, which is nice and smooth, and like I said, it allows a lot of layers. You'd be surprised for the fact that it is smooth paper, but it also allows detail, and detail is what it's about, detail and texture, but you've got to pick your battles. Right, I'm really going this time. Thank you so very, very much, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now. Bye.